Hello.
Hello, dear.
So, thank you for being my first person to do my interviews. So, as you know, it'll no doubt, because it's the first one, be full of glitches, rough as fuck, basically. You know, super professional from me, as always.
Well, I'll do my best to keep the two dogs that I'm babysitting today at bay. But yeah, it is the first one. I can't say for sure that they won't bark, but we'll just handle it if it comes up.
Listen, if they want to say their piece, they can say their piece.
Absolutely. If I start talking rubbish, they might join in and be like,
they might join. She's lying. I think the first thing we should do is let's introduce yourself. So tell me who you are and what your business is.
Okay, so for everyone that doesn't already know, I'm Debbie, and Deborah Craig is the full name of the business. What I do is many different things, Emma, as you well know, but ultimately I help people change their lives, and the different models that I use for doing that are through my retreats that I've been currently holding abroad in Italy, which, as you all know, my goal is to hopefully try and move there at some point. I'm an author. I wrote and published a book at the end of last year, Uncertainty is Your Superpower, which, Emma, I can see is just about to scale. Look at that.
Oh, is it going to show?
Yay, well done, girl. I've got one there as well, if need be. So these two are probably two new strings to my bow. But the private work that I do with one-to-one clients is I use lots of different modalities, but it's all underpinned using hypnotherapy, because for me, it goes the deepest, it's the most transformational, it allows you to let go of what doesn't serve you, calm the nervous system, which we all need to be able to move through uncertainty, especially if you're a business owner, and also to see a future that you might not even have imagined as possible, but once you see it, it becomes more believable. So it's such a useful methodology that I've built into my business model, and I help people make big significant change in their life using tools like that. So I do that in my private work. But yeah, it's a bit of a moving beast at the moment, if I'm totally honest. But I think if you just circle it around, I just help people change their life, because that's what I did for myself, you know. Yep. That's ultimately what's happened. It's my whole life is completely different. How is it different? By going through all these steps. And now I'm just that kind of living, breathing proof of what happens when you make the change. And the other thing that I've been starting to work on is probably going deeper with content creation. Now, I've got no interest in being like a next Mr. Beast. It's nothing like that. But I understand that my life, to many people, is very interesting, that I hear it often enough and inspiring because of all the changes that I've made. So the next thing that I will be moving into, and I'm already sort of started to get underway with that, is content creation, building it around my life, which will then lead into what my work is, because when people follow along, how do you do it? Well, here's all the things that I did to make those changes. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And while you've talked about like the kind of changes that you've gone through, can you tell me a bit about how you came about this? Because this wasn't always what you did.
No.
So how has that kind of transitioned?
So I suppose I've always been someone who championed people. So it's in my DNA. Like I see potential in people. I can read people very quickly, and I can see what could be possible for them. And I remember when I left school, I was 17, and I thought I could be a counsellor or a social worker, because bearing in mind, I don't want to tell everybody my age here, but it was many, 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 many moons ago. And coaching and hypnotherapy and other sort of models that just wasn't really talked about. So for me, I didn't go down that path, right? I ended up in financial services, which was another backup career. Because the thing is, if it wasn't about people,
too further apart.
Well, if you know my nature, the two things that I love is I like finance, and I don't mean accountancy. I mean, I probably would have been better known more about investing, because actually that's something that I've got more interested in over the last few years. But I was in finance, mortgages, and I actually took a lot of pleasure in being able to go all the way subject matter expert in my field. Then I ran teams of people who were mortgage advisors. But the most thing that I loved actually in those phases was that I was actually helping them become the best version of themselves in that role. And it wasn't just about what was happening in work, because often it leads into, well, what's going on in your day-to-day life? What's your lifestyle like? So without realising that, I was already a coach in there.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of, God, this is really what it is that I love to do. I love to help people achieve what they want, to make change in their life. But I realised that through time, I wasn't doing it in the environment that was actually conducive to what I wanted. So I had a bit of a wake-up moment when I was 39, and a bit of a sort of staring out the window, you know, in my corporate suit and looking out, clacking on my laptop, thinking, yeah, I don't think it's the wrong job I'm in. I think it's the wrong life that I might be in. Yeah, it was more about, I looked around and I thought, right, okay, I'm not loving it with the work, even though I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm not feeling as satisfied because I burn that feeling of satisfaction out instantly. You know, you change jobs and then within 5 seconds, it's like, oh, you know, that's it. The excitement's gone. And I was doing that a lot within the same environment, the same company. But I just had this moment where I was looking around thinking, hey, this is not the right environment. These are great people, but I also don't think this is conducive to what I think is possible for me. I don't see any job all the way up to the top that I want to do. There's nothing I see here I want to do. So if I'm not loving my lifestyle, because it was pretty shady at the time, if I'm not loving all the company that I'm keeping, if I'm not feeling good about myself, if I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not feeling any kind of satisfaction anymore in my work, this isn't a job issue.
Yeah.
This is a life issue. This is a human look at yourself moment issue. And that's really where it started. I just had this wake up.
It's incredible because it's at 39. I think you do like start looking at your life and what you're wanting to do with it. And, you know, it's a big step to then leave something that it's got so much security in it. You've been doing it for years. And a lot of people think about these things, you know, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, and maybe cut themselves off of it's too late. What do you think about things like that? Because it's incredible that you then decided, and of course, I don't think it's too late at all. I'm very much a chameleon, just do what you want, make your life happy. But what do you think of people that might be watching this that think, I can't change this now, you know, this is the road I'm on and I've kind of made my bed with it?
Well, I think for me, it comes down to what beliefs you've got. What are the core beliefs that you've got? Because if you tell yourself this is the best it can be, and this is what I believe is acceptable for me, well, that becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, I never imagined in my life that I would be travelling and living abroad significant parts of a year with a dream to move abroad. I never believed I would have written a book, even though I knew I had multiple trilogies in me because of my life that I've had. I had a lot of pipe dreams. Some of them I never even believed. Some of them are so far away from what I imagined. But if I had held on to that old mindset with what I believed was possible for me based on everything that I'd lived through, what I think I could do based on my own confidence levels or how much appetite for risk that I had, because my appetite for risk was low. So even although I was a climber in my corporate career, it was still safe because it was still corporate. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you hate the job, you get another one. This is how I felt.
Yeah.
So my appetite for risk was low. But once you start that work in yourself, once you start to see, well, wait a minute, that's not my story, that's somebody else's story, or actually I did that and I coped with it. I'm probably capable of doing a lot more than I think I am. This is it. You can't go backwards. So once you start that journey. So from an age perspective, there are moments that I sit now that I've just turned 50 and I think, God, I don't wish I was younger, but I do wish I'd known some of the stuff a bit sooner. But equally, how would I have got to where I am if I hadn't have gone through what I've gone through? So I would say anyone that's looking at it and thinking, have I ran out of time? Is it the right time? first of all, there's better times than others. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
So I originally looked up my degree that I did, started that at 39. And when I signed up for it, when I contacted the Open Uni, they already had an account opened for me that I'd never proceeded with. It was 5 years earlier. So 5 years before that moment that I signed up,
You had been making that.
I had something in me that was wanting me to do it. But then I had zero ducks in a row. In fact, my ducks were going backwards, I swear, because it was so chaotic in my life that the finances weren't there. The ability to focus and do it well just wasn't there. I wasn't ready. So are there better times than others? Yes. But is there ever a perfect time? No.
Yeah.
Right? There isn't. So I didn't have a big financial backing. I had a job, but not a lot of money in savings. But when I started the degree, I started to think, I'm going to start saving up. I don't know what I'm saving for, but I'll just keep putting money away because I should and I can. So you start to make different choices. So the age thing, I look at people and I think, I've got one of my friends she just turned 60 the same month as me, and she's always been into creativity. And she's now got a wee side hustle where she upcycles jewellery boxes and does commission pieces. Now, she's always loved creativity, but what's going to happen when she retires in 4, 5, 6 years' time? She's already saying herself, well, I don't want to just put myself out to pasture. She's very young and energetic, but there she's building a little segue into a side hustle.
Get into it, yeah.
So it's not always about, I'm going to wake up one day and, change my life overnight. No. But even if you're 30 and you think, I'm probably not loving the career that I'm in, well, what can you do that you do love? What can you do that would take you closer, even if it takes you 10 years to navigate out of one environment to another?
Yeah.
You don't have to sit and wait until the perfect moment, but you do have to take some kind of action behind the scenes. And even if you're older, God, I look at people now, and honestly, this is such a random story, right? Because it's not really work related, but it inspired me so much. I can't tell you how many people have told it. So I went to, recently when I was back in Italy, right? I met this great girl, and she was introducing me to people that she knew. And one of the people, I didn't actually know that I knew who he was for nearly a whole year, the year before, because he was on the beach all the time. And I'd see him and think, right, you look older and you're definitely not Italian, but you're sitting with this group of people who are clearly all Italian. They're sitting during the day, they're having drinks, smoking and what. And I think, you're not with them, but you're with them. And I never understood it. So fast forward a year, chatting to this girl, and she's like, oh, let me introduce you to this guy. He's 87. Okay. So she tells me the story. And I just looked at him and I was like, I know you. Do you wear blue shorts down at the shore? And he went, yes. And I went, oh my goodness. And then I've known you from all last year when I was there in April and May and then October, November. I was like, and he went, why did you never come over and say hello? And I went, oh, I'm a bit of a weirdo. I quite like my own people watching. I was like, and when everybody's in a big crowd like that, unless somebody gives you the signal, I'm not really one for just moseying on in. Anyway, his story is fascinating, talking about age. So he's lived in different countries. Scotland actually is where he grew up. And then he was in Ireland for a lot of time, had his family, his children, his wife. And then his wife died and he was 80 or coming up to 80. And he couldn't quite find himself. So keep in mind what age I'm talking about here. So one day he gets in his car and starts driving and didn't stop. 80. And through a journey of just driving and turning and taking different turns and ending up at different borders, landed in Monopoly. He's 87 now.
I love that.
And now he's got his place in, obviously, Ireland, obviously. But he basically has a flat and everything, and he's been well settled for several years. What's happened, Deborah? So he basically went there. All these people, young girls, thought he was like a grandpa, right, to them, and invited them into their family homes for dinner and different things. So in those 7 years, he's fully integrated himself into the Monopoly lifestyle, has bought a flat 3 years ago, right in one of the squares, and he is as youthful and as energetic, and he's 87. So when I see that, so sometimes I would have a moment and go, God, it's taken me this length of time and I'm 50 and I've still not got it figured out, and that's okay. I'm just rolling with it. And then I'm counting it and going, oh, it's still 37 years, Debbie.
Yeah. That's it. It's all perspective. Sorry, the dogs are like, she's talking shit.
Yeah. As soon as they see anything outside, they're away.
Listen, you've met Pablo, you know what it's like.
Yes, I do. And I just think I'm keeping that as a story to inspire people. For
Absolutely.
Anyone that ever thinks, am I running out of time? 80, you just up sticks, you build a new life. Why can't you?
Yeah.
Why can't anybody do that? So to circle back to your question about age, it doesn't matter. It's actually not the number. It's about you on the inside. Do you have that thing inside of you that will take you to where you want to go?
Yeah.
And that to me is more about knowing yourself, trusting yourself, shedding the old belief systems and narratives that keep you stuck, rather than about an age, just a number.
I love it. And I do think, you're either built a certain way to adapt to that or you're not. But I love, and then you're here to help break that out of people, which you've done with me many times.
Indeed. And done with many, many people that are now doing things that, they still message me years later. Some of them I still know and connected with, and, some of the things they're doing. And I'm just like, how lucky was I to be part of that facilitation of that journey? Not, I didn't do it, they're doing it, but they're also looking at me and thinking, I would like to be able to do some of those things. So, okay, I'm not going to quit my life and quit my job and do all these things and up sticks and rent my house out, like things that I've done, but I still shining a light on something else out there that some people have not exposed themselves to or have never considered that it might even be possible. And I'm not playing it down here, but I'm just a nobody, like in the big scheme of things. I'm just a random, regular, everyday person who's made loads of mistakes, and I mean loads, wasted so much time, wasted money. But is that not just part of living life and learning?
I hope so, because I've done it all as well. On that, you and I met when I had just started the business. I think you had been, was it 2 years you had been on it?
Like that, yeah.
And we met at the RBS Accelerator, and it was just all about helping us build our business. Looking back at that time, which was 4 years ago, which is crazy. But looking back at that time, if you could go back and talk to yourself and say something to yourself about business and although you'd already started, what would you tell yourself?
Pivot faster. It's very clear to me now.
Yeah. Because
of some of the things that I've done in the last 12, 18 months, 2 years have been so out there that I wish to God I had done them faster before. I wished I didn't believe that a certain model was the only way to do it. I wish I didn't listen to gurus that said this is the way it must be when I knew it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd trusted myself quicker to pivot faster. But at 6 and a bit years in, I'm doing all right now. I've been able to learn that lesson. But if I could go back and tell her then, because I used to get stuck quite a lot then and stagnant, I would say I could probably have pulled myself out of where I was a lot sooner. But we are where we are.
Yeah.
And that's it. I did what I did. So that's something about, I think as well, my nature is quite like I like security. So you wouldn't know that though if you know what my life journey's been, especially in the last 10 years. You'd never think that I was somebody that still craved security. You'd think I was some wild child making all these crazy decisions and taking all these risks. It hasn't come without its extreme discomfort.
Yeah.
But that's why I also wrote my book. Because if you can be okay with uncertainty and you make it your superpower, you will be able, even if you are someone that craves security the way I do, you will still be able to put yourself out there.
I love that.
Yep.
What is in the pipeline then for you and your business? Is there another year or what's happening?
Definitely more books. I don't have anything tabled as yet. For me, I'll be honest with you, there was about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I made a conscious decision that even although I didn't have all the answers, we never do, I didn't have everything lined out exactly to make life comfortable, I made a choice that I was going to put my life before my business. And that is actually how I've made a lot of changes. Mm-hmm. So what is actually taught for me, whilst the business is incredibly important, I want my life to be the business, not my business to be my life.
Yeah.
So this has been what's been a real factor in my pivoting and changing. So, for example, what's next for me is really focusing on how do I continue to be able to move around these countries? How am I going to figure out the visa? What does that look like? How do I get to a place and land? Maybe settle for a year to test out what it's like. I want to learn the language. I want to learn Italian. So whilst the business is important because we need to make money, I think it's through living my life. Mm-hmm. Because when I started that behaviour last year, that's how my retreat was born, and I want to host more. That's how I got my book off the starting line, finished and published. But it was all in that year of living. It wasn't that sitting behind a desk trying to find the answers. It was actually being out there, taking the risks and realising the energy shifts. I think that's one of the biggest powerful things. I had no comprehension on the impact in living in other places, what it would do for me energetically. And I think if you think about this, as someone who likes stability, who likes that feeling of being a homebody, it was real proof that we often have to face into those innate parts of our character and push the boundaries, because I could have sat there for another 5 years, just on the same cycle, just tolerating, going round in circles, just, not making any significant shift. But by putting myself in situations that were difficult, uncomfortable, risky, all those things, I actually learned who I was. And I also found out what it is that makes me tick. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had this. I should have known Taurus, Gemini, Cusper, right? I think I was always innately the Taurus, with the Gemini part of me screaming inside going, you're kind of a bit of a hippie. Mm-hmm. You're flighty. You want more freedom. And it's only now that I've really embodied that. So what is next? I'd love to answer that succinctly, but I can't. More retreats, definitely. More books, 100%. YouTube, top priority. That's what I'm building right now. But I think my life will be the top priority.
Yeah.
And that will create the business. So watch this space.
I absolutely love it. And you've convinced me. I'm packing up. I'm leaving. I'm going to...
what you'll definitely be doing is come out and visiting to me in my various places, wherever I am. That is 100% given. That's us had our big birthdays now. There's no reason to be putting a blocker in the way. They're done.
Absolutely. I think,
we had a dream.
We can sort that, but I do think maybe September-ish, October-ish.
Well, we had a dream. For anybody listening, Emma and I would have many breakdowns and breakthroughs, tears and snorters, and pulling each other up in RBS when we were in this programme together. And I always used to say, one day I'll be in Italy. And this is before I even knew Italy could become true for me, because this was 4 years ago. And I used to show you the picture of the balcony where it was like you could be sitting and there was like a glass of champagne or the coffee and the croissant, and it was looking out on the water, and it was this picturesque in Italy. I remember I used to send it to you and show you and go, when we hit the sweet spot, because it will happen, or when the moment is right, this will be you and I.
I have that photo on my vision board, and my vision board is on my screensaver of my computer, so that every time I'm on the computer at work, I can see exactly what I'm going for, and that picture is there.
Well, take it offline for this conversation, because my plan is probably 2 to 3 weeks travelling around maybe Rome, Pompeii, but also the Amalfi Coast and stuff like that, down that way, before I head back to Monopoly for a couple of months, which is where I'll probably do my next strategic lift, because I'll be settled and I know the place and all the rest of it. I want to go and see a villa that I've had my eye on for my next retreat, so I want to see it in person. So there's things like that I want to do when I'm there. Hopefully a retreat 2027 spring, with late spring, would be the sweet spot for me. But I sit here, you think I know it, and I've got it all put together. Honestly, still 5 ducks in a row. That'll do. Different 5 than it was 4 years ago, but only about 5.
Yeah, no, you're doing well with those ducks. So I've got a very difficult question for you.
Ready?
I want you to give me 2 lies and 1 truth, and don't tell me what one's what. I would like people that are watching this to try and guess what one is the lie. Oh no, what one is the truth?
Sorry, 2 lies and 1 truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll dance while you think.
Okay. 2 lies and 1 truth. Okay. Oh my goodness, why is this so difficult? Do you know, give me a second. So I'm a professional pet sitter on the side. I have converted from dog lover to cat lover, and I have a pet hamster. Okay, there's 2 truths and 1 lie in there.
I like it. Okay, the floor is yours. People who are watching, listening, have stuck with us.
2 truths, 1 lie.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And it'll be fun to look back, because this is going to be a regular thing that I'm going to be doing with lots of people. It'll be fun to look back on the quality of this and how in time.
All barking, me pausing, all the rest of it. Yes, 100%.
But what I would quite like to do is do another one in a year's time. See where we're at. Wouldn't that be fun?
I'd love that. I think I did that with a girl. She's a podcast host, and I did a podcast with her very quickly after meeting her, and we didn't know that less than, I think it was maybe about 6 months later, we'd be sharing a luxury villa in a month of January in Portugal together, sitting on the sofa shooting another podcast together, side by side.
Maybe we'll be doing it face to face then. And
there you go. You just never know.
Well, cheers. Mine was a coffee today. What was yours?
Thank you very much.
Water.
Mine is tea. Oh yes, my water here. Actually, look at this. Of course, look, Italia.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Yes, this is how I see myself in Italy. It's not quite looked like that yet, but that is the goal.
It's going to call you the bike there.
You've been in Monopoly hanging out.
I might cut that out. I might keep it in. I don't know.
That's so funny. Oh, yeah.
Right, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Now. Thank you.
Okay, bye.